I'll just show you this. There's two stories here. One's the BBC Hastings Borough Council eighth councillor quits local Labour group, and then from this local gov website, Labour's 13-year Oxford reign ends after ninth resignation. And joining us to talk about that, we've got from Hastings, Andy Batsford on the call. How are you doing, Andy?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you very much, Crispin. Yourself?
Oh, yeah, just pleased not to be. It's not Christmas anymore, and also joining us from Oxford is Jabu Nala-Hartley. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. How are you all?
Oh yeah, good, good. Everyone's wrapped up warm. Then you've got a scarf on, you've got a hat on. It's so everyone's ready for this. Now if I could start with you, Andy. Hastings, eight councillors resigned from the Labour group. Can you tell us the sort of background to that? And you know what what the next step is for the councillors there.
Yeah, well, I think the next steps that are the most interesting and exciting ones. But yeah, going back to just before Christmas, 20 years, Labour has been in charge of Hastings Borough Council, and just after we passed a load of important measures at the budget cabinet at full council, eight of us and that's six of us from the cabinet announced that we were resigning from the National Labour Party uh, on a sort of quite a broad range of issues, but very much around the National Party's stance around Gaza and the appalling, the poor way that they were standing up for the innocent victims across the whole of that area, but also around the odious and threatening micromanagement, really, of the regional and national party on not just local councillors, but also active members that have been members of the party for decades, and just the appalling way that they think they can treat people that have given their time, life, and dedication to the Labour Party, and how they just treat those people with sort of disregard and disrespect.
And so that an independent group has been set up.
Yeah, that's
Can you
right. So
tell us?
yeah, sorry,
Can you tell
Crispin.
us
So
how is that all Labour people, or have you got people from other parties, or is it kind of coming together with people of a left persuasion?
Well, at the moment, it's eight Labour councillors that have resigned. That's the Labour group, and we're called the Hastings Independence. What happens next? We actually had our first meeting yesterday about how we're going to progress things onwards. The most important thing for us as a group is that we do politics in a completely different way. So we're going to have some really big public meetings soon, where we're going to be inviting people to come and join as supporters, people putting themselves as candidates forward. We've got our local elections coming up in May, which is a really exciting time for a new independent group to stand in those local elections and really offer an alternative to Tory light, and other national politics, political parties that don't really focus on the issues of the average and normal person in Hastings. So they were really excited about that. And I've just been reading through a book called Flat Pack Democracy, which is by Peter. The guys are from Frome Council down in Somerset, about how they've just inverted politics beautifully, making sure that actual policy and strategy is developed by the people and the councillors, and the council enact those policies. Really exciting way of doing politics. It's going to take a lot of hard work, but I think the people of Hastings are ready to take control of their destinies without kind of national politics getting in the way of the aspirations of the people in the town.
Right, that's fantastic. Now, Jabu, the Oxford, you've trumped Hastings because you've had 10 resignations. Is that's right? Um, can you tell us the background to that, and where this is there an independent group there as well?
Yes, hello everyone. Yes, it was quite a swift decision from a lot of us. We the people come from varying. 6 of the councillors that resigned were classified as being on the left. I think the other 3 were a bit of a shock because they were seen as the sort of soft left. And the 2 of them went first, the first week of October, after the 7th of October, after Starmer made that famous comment of Israel has a right to defend itself. That was the outrage that came from the Oxford City councillors that resigned. The first ones, the 2 Muslims, Shaista Aziz and Amal Latif, went the first week, and we followed the week after. We decided to keep it quiet because we wanted to use the AMM as a platform, because we'd had situations where we wanted to take action live, and the executive in Oxford have moved things to Zoom. So we wanted a direct confrontation with the Labour Party where we would have our MP there. So it was absolutely fantastic in terms of platforming the Palestinian plight, because also Evans had sent a message to actually interfere with our agenda to say we can't platform, we can't talk about the BDS, for instance. So we wanted to basically, because we know we're leaving the Labour Party, wanted to make sure that we basically defied the Labour, what you call the Labour Party, and just platform all those issues that they had said can't be mentioned at the AMM, and it was fantastic. Yeah.
So Andy was talking about micromanagement from the centre of the Labour Party. I mean, that sounds exactly what was happening there, with Evans saying you can't discuss BDS and other things like that. Has that been something that's been kind of boiling, simmering under for a while in Oxford? Is that kind of control from the centre of Labour? Is that something that you identify with, that what Andy was saying?
Yes, they've tried. In Oxford, we've had a slightly different, because as the left control, as you know, I was the chair of the Labour Party until the day that I resigned. So on so many issues, we've managed to really defeat them, to the point that even Luke Akehurst wasn't selected here. Luke Akehurst is from Oxford. And as recent as about 3 weeks before, his wife tried to come for my seat, because, as you know, the Labour Party has unpaneled me through region. So she decided that she was going to come. We managed to block her using Labour Party processes. So it's been really, really like a fight that's been building up. So Palestine was a tip of the iceberg. I mean, as I said to a lot of people, for me, Palestine is always dear to my heart, because I was raised in South Africa. I grew up under apartheid. And as we entered the city council in 2019, we had written a pledge to actually, which actually stated that we would support Palestine, and we called Israel an apartheid state. And those were the things that they used to try and hush us on. And it was absolutely fantastic that in 2019, we basically we waited them out until it was near the election time, and then we decided to sign this pledge. So it wasn't easy for the Labour Party to chuck us out. There were 17 of us that signed. Some of them didn't actually get the council awards that they wanted, but it was significant in terms of the statement that we made, that we entered the chamber with them knowing that these couple of councillors pro-Palestinian liberation.
So can you say what's happening next? Have you got elections in Oxford, as Andy is in Hastings? He said they've got them in May. Have you got elections coming up where you'd be putting a candidate against Labour, or I mean just standing a candidate whether Labour stands or not?
Yes, we have elections as well in May, but what is significant with us as well, before this May, we have managed to also push for the unanimous motion on ceasefire. That was another interesting battle we had soon after our resignations, because we had about 3 motions that were proposed in the councils, and ours was basically total ceasefire. We had all these crappy ones, which are talking about two-state solutions, And we managed to beat the right there as well, where we galvanized the whole of the chamber. It was a unanimous vote. It was really satisfying to see Luke Akers' wife having to put her hand up, and Annalise Dawes' husband, who's Ed Tenner, who's also in our council chamber, also putting their hand up. They were kind of like forced to, we shamed them into basically voting for the ceasefire. And yes, our elections are coming. We are all an independent group now. Obviously, we'll be standing. Some of us don't have to stand because of COVID rules. I have to stand in May. Because of COVID rules, we are split into two. Some of them won't stand till 2026. But yes, we are hoping to encourage a lot of candidates across Oxford to stand, especially those councillors that didn't vote for the ceasefire. So our motto is no ceasefire, no vote.
Right. So, but Andy, what's your what would you like of us to help you? Because we're as you may have been able to tell from the chat and what we've been doing before, we're not particularly keen on Starmer's Labour here. How can we support what you're doing?
Well, yeah. Well, anybody that's local to Hastings, obviously, we'd encourage you to look out on social media for when we announce these big public meetings. There'll be music, there'll be food, there'll be, it's all about trying to make politics much more relevant and much more, at the heart of people's day-to-day living, rather than it being some sort of if you wear it back. The most important thing for me really is about coming out of the Labour Party is that it's to widen the appeal and widen the pool of people that we can call on. It's such a small amount of people that you end up with. People that are interested in politics is probably about 10% of the country. Then people that actually sort of want to become a member of the party, that's like tiny. And then people that actually want to become a councillor, even smaller. And you end up with the mad and the great as being councillors and not actually a representation of the people. So it's about widening that out. So anybody that lives around the area of Hastings, please come along to the meetings, pledge your support, whatever you've got, your skills, your time, your energy, and we're going to just grow a movement that we hope is going to take Hastings in a really positive direction, hearing everybody's voices and making sure that everybody feels heard and valued.
I have to ask another supplementary, I'm afraid, Andy. The parliamentary election will be this year. What's the chances of a candidate standing against Labour or the others there?
Well, I can give you an exclusive. We had our meeting last night, yesterday, and we've decided that we are Hastings Independence. We're not going to be putting up a national candidate. We haven't got. We don't know what our resources are going to be after a few public meetings, but that's a lot of time and effort spent on something that. Up until about 3 weeks ago, I was knocking on people's doors for the Labour Party, as you'd expect, and most of the people I've knocked on the doors are all the Tories. Tories are staying in bed and not going to vote at all, and those that are left leaning are probably going to hold their noses and vote for a Labour government with some sheer hope that there's going to be some sort of gear change for the people of the country. So. I think we need to concentrate on what we've called ourselves Hastings Independence. We're going to be concentrating on making sure that the town is looked after by a group of independent councillors, and then we'll work and protest against and campaign against whatever government comes up after the general election. Right.
Okay. Thanks for that exclusive. And Jabu, what's the situation in Oxford? Do you think that there would a candidate might emerge to stand against Labour there?
Yeah, I mean, in Oxford, we're kind of in a little bit of a muddle because as independent, there's also independents that have come about because of the LTMs, which are about basically the blockades that were brought by to actually counter the emissions that are taking place in all the cities. So most of those are right-wing, but they're also independent. So right now, people are busy trying to sift themselves out into really understanding who is a socialist independent. We have to really define ourselves because, as you know, quite a lot of people, some of the constituents, like my ward that I represent, quite a lot of people don't even know how to differentiate between Labour and the Conservative. And Starmer has made it worse for them because they're just sounding the same. So we are really at that sort of discussion, but we've got a huge meeting that's coming up on the 23rd of January. That's been organized by the Trade and District Council, which will have quite a lot of trade union organizations that will be there. So hopefully that can really clarify our position, because that's kind of like we will all be uniting and coming to that meeting. And I have been asked to stand. Various people have said we should stand. So it's I've read the whole what you call the whole practical process of the application. It's interesting. It needs a lot of money backing. So we need to put our heads together and decide what we are doing. But we've certainly kept the pressure up here in Oxford through demonstrations, especially because we have institutions like Oxford University, which is directly implicated in supplying arms to Israel. So we've just really focused on really just highlighting the plight of what is going on there. So maybe end of January we'll be talking about a different phase in terms of challenging the candidates that have not voted for ceasefire.
Yeah, Annalise, I forgot the name now.
Annalise is Annalise Dodds.
Oh, yeah. Dodds, yeah. Okay, well, look, thank you both for coming on, and I'm really pleased to hear what you're doing. It gives, and again, it's a positive story that we don't have to continue with parties that don't work for us really. And good luck, Andy, and please come back on if you need any support. We'll put the word out. And Jabu, do let us know what happens at the end of January. And we'll be supporting you. And just to point out to anyone watching, there are other councils that have had the same thing. I think Burnley was another one. I think there's another council that's been lost. So it's not just Hastings and Oxford. Did you want to say something, Jabu?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say we do have a big independent WhatsApp where all the councillors that have resigned are now congregating. So it's really good because we're having that conversation across nationally. But also before I go, I wanted to say hello to John Dunn. How are you doing? He knows me anyway.
All right, look, I'm going to get John on to say hello back to you. John?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hiya, Jabu. Been a long time.
I know. It's good to see you. Happy New Year.
Yeah, good to see you. Keep it up. Yes.
Thank you.